Hi there, this is Michael Becker, and welcome to our session today as we dig into and attempt to understand this broad, all-encompassing market that is the personal data and identity marketplace. With me today is Breno Pilar, who is a VP at IPification, a leading global identity resolution and solutions provider. And he is the VP for the Ibero-America's market. And this is a new term that I actually had never heard of before. It's basically someone that oversees the Portuguese and other Spanish-speaking markets around the world. So thank you very much for teaching me a new word. I love waking up and learning a new word each day. Awesome. And Breno, thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here. Very kind from you to invited me. I hope I can add some new information or reliable information that can help other people to join us in this amazing movement to evangelize people about mobile identity.
Well, I'm sure you can, and let's just jump right in. So I have 3 questions for you, and we'll just kind of step through them. And let's start with the first one. The first question I want to ask you is, what is the personal data and identity marketplace? Like, how do we define it? How do we measure its size? How do we understand and tease it apart so we can drill in on the most important and salient topics that we need to discuss so that we can responsibly participate and help the market grow?
Michael, this is an excellent question and really interesting. I think we could speak about this for a week or a long time and never reach a conclusion. If you allowed me, I would like to pick up, in my opinion, the beginning to answer this question, that it's about talking about children and how is the impact of mobile identity in these all new people, little ones that come to the market. What do you think?
Actually, I think that's awesome because most of the time, as I approach this market with people, they'll talk about it. Well, I want to talk about sizing the market. This is a big market, or I want to talk about this or that. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I've seen statistics that talked about, how many like 6-year-olds actually have a smartphone and a tablet, and they're essentially, our kids today are born into digital. And frankly, they're this idea of how do we actually protect this vulnerable class, because it's not just kids, it's also people with disabilities or the aged, the people that need protection.
Not included ones.
Are included in that broader scope. So I would love to talk about that. So with that in mind, can you define that issue? Like, I'm not an expert in the field, but I'm aware of, for example, in the United States, we have the COPA, legislation, the child protection legislation. So, it's definitely an important thing to do. But so let's jump right in. So what's the important issue? What do we need to know about?
Listen, it's interesting to think about the families, because everything is starting in the families, and think about a mother and a father trying to follow what is going on in a mobile phone from the children. This is a completely new world for parents. And it seems simple and seems harmless, but it's far from that. Because since the children create the first email account, we have an issue there. Because should we supply these companies with children data without any restriction, like age, name, address, gender? This is a really sensitive situation that I think we are not putting enough effort to drive it and to deal with, because it's a chicken and egg situation, because in fact the parents should be knowledgeable enough to understand what's going on with children data, but really they are not even understanding what's going on with their own data, what's going to happen with the future generation. You see, even in the United States, I'm between United States and Brazil and other countries in Latin America, but think about United States is following what's going on in personal life through social media. And children, early age, start to feeding social media with personal information. This is something that really require people who are knowledgeable to understand what's going on and mainly think about the future. Because how can we drive all this information if we are not even realizing what is going on? So this is the first step that I would like to share with you, that it's everything is happening in the families between parents not well prepared, responsible people for little ones, and the little ones are just following the instincts. As you said, since the first day they have a contact with an iPad or a mobile phone, they are already supplying information, and they are super fast to give away their personal data or any data they have no idea of the consequence. So
let me pause there too. I think as I think about this, I mean, there's I was at a My Data event about a year ago, and I came across this insight that was amazing, that your digital footprint actually starts before you're born, right? Because the first time mom goes to the hospital, the digital footprint of you as a human begins, right? And then grows exponentially from the date you're born all the way through your death, and then carries on throughout your death. But what you're raising up is there's this particularly sensitive window between birth and when I become a legal adult, where we need to essentially be protected, both from accidentally making a mistake and disclosing information that we may or may not be exposed to, protect me from harms that I may unwillingly stumble across. Exactly. And I think you're raising some really important points about when we think about the context of personal data. To your point, the youth are going through instinct, and they can wickedly just intuit what's going on with these UIs and fill out forms and provide data and not really understand the implications about it. But moreover, and let me ask you this question too, is the issue that you're suggesting, the potential harm that you're suggesting, just around the data that they inadvertently and unknowingly supply, or is it also around the fact that their behavior can be tracked? The non-supplied personal data can actually end up building profiles around them that could be misused, misconstrued. Not to mention the fact that their identity, their actual credentials, their usernames, their passwords, their biometrics, all of those things. Yes. Would you consider all of that to be lumped into this idea of personal data, or are you just referring to that one specific thing, saying the username, password?
Thank you, Michael, for this opportunity, because it's exactly all these you're saying. It's the concern, because if we could manage one or another, it will be super easier and down to the point, but it's not the point. The point is everything together and in parallel at the same time happen. We have the children supplying information that they suppose not to share, not without a parenting or some knowledge about the consequence or even a supervision, and they receive stimulation to keep doing this. So imagine children with 6 years old being fed with all this motivation to keep giving information and exchanging data for coins, digital coins. You get more coins, you get a different clothes for your character, or a new device for your car, and you keeping this without to see the consequence. And parallel to this, you have groups of people discussing, and you really don't know the age, don't know the gender, you don't know far away the intentions of these people. So it's really like in our early ages, the dangerous was outside of house, right? and the parents try to keep us safe inside the house. Today, there is no more this distinction. So your children is in your bedroom, you are not sure that he's safe anymore, because if he's in a mobile device in connection with the internet, he can reach the world, he can speak with everyone, and everyone can speak with him. So how we should manage this? I think this is something that we could start tracking with some technology that I would like to discuss a little further.
Yeah, and let me, before we move on to that, I want to make one other point too that comes to mind. As you were talking too, what I think you're trying to share with us is this is not just about, you know, filling out forms on the web either. Because of now with our IoT and our connected devices, this is also about biometrics, you know, voice print, face print, fingerprint, if you will. You know, and I just recall, like last December, I recalled seeing news stories of how, like, there was you know, Ring cameras being hacked, or even as far back as May, I believe it was May of 2017, there was a connected toy that was inappropriately the cybersecurity protocols of the device were inappropriate, and so all of the interactions from the child's interactions with that toy were unencrypted, sitting on a hard drive, and so just effectively, and it was voice activated. So essentially, the voice print and all the conversations that were happening around this toy were being recorded and dumped on an unencrypted server.
And all the cameras,
and cameras, and in fact,
that should be used to protect our hacking, and go on.
And there was one story I recall where one child was having a conversation with a cyber criminal through her connected doll, and the child actually ended up asking them if they were God, right? She didn't know, and she was having a conversation with her toy, and the parent walks in with this other person who have no idea who it is, having a conversation with her kid.
This is our point. Where are the privacy and the security in all of this?
And so
looks
and
like
where are the
there,
rules?
there is not.
Where are the legislative rules to protect them? So
nobody is taking care of, Michael. This is the point. And we are the people who would like to help to change that. But to change that, we need to spread the word and share the knowledge. And the parents and the responsible people should be at least trying to understand a little what we are talking about, in a way to protect themselves first and help the others, not only children, as you said, but people who are not able to protect themselves. Elderly people are kind of the same of young people.
Yeah, and let me spin this a little bit, because this has gotten really scary really fast. All right, so let's flip it a little bit, right? The opposite of that is, if we do this right, there's unbelievable upside, right? Improved education, faster, faster learning to speech, learning new languages, connecting with friends, making really legitimate, solid social contracts. Learning to navigate the world. Have the life you desire for the people you love. Happiness, freedom, driving them to the knowledge that you would like to have when you are younger, but we are not able to have such kind of technology we have now. But it's all about which way we're gonna choose. And right now, the way are being chosen by itself. It's wrong. Okay, so let me summarize then. So we've learned a lot. We've talked about this idea of a personal identity marketplace. We've discussed that it's huge, and there's tremendous amount of opportunity. There's massive risk, incredible upside, and that's what we've learned in this. And there's this, and what we've learned based on this conversation is there is a specific vulnerable class of individual that's participating online. Many people refer to that as children, but there's also the mentally challenged, or the aged, or the infirm adult, or the incapacitated adult, that could need help. So I think we can lump them all into the same kind of class, where a guardian, whether or not it's a parent or a guardian, needs to have tools to be able to help them, protect them from harm, and help them take advantage of the upside to which these tools can avail them. So I think that's what we've learned. Would you agree with that?
Definitely, exactly. We reach an agreement, and this is the point that I would like to suggest we use as a base to construct what we are proposing here.
Okay, so now let's go to the next question. What do we do about it? So, and when I talk about we, I want to couch this in a specific way. So when I look at the industry, I think that there's primarily three market sectors, and let's first validate that. I mean, if we go up to the macro level, the primary three macro sectors are basically the people, the connected individual, public sector companies like yourself or a Google or a Facebook or an Amazon or any number of startups, correct? Brands as well, everything from the retailer to the financial brand, et cetera. That's what I mean by public facing companies. And then there are your private sector companies, all right? And those private sector companies are, your public sector companies, your governments. And then there's the quasi nonprofits, NGOs in between those two. So if those are our actors, people, companies and governments, that's what I mean by we. What do each one of them individually need to know, right? So the big no is there's risk and opportunity for this vulnerable class of people. From the lens of a private organization, public organization, or the individual, what do they need to know?
Interesting that all these different levels you mentioned, we have one thing common. They are people. There are people behind. So we learn. And this is the point that we are missing. Because if we stop learning, because we are different age, different gender, different race, different religion, we separate instead to unify and make the things good for everyone. So the proposal is spread the word about technology, but in a right way. What should we do first, second, third? And we have to start in some place. Now we know that there is a set of people, elderly and young people and other ones that we could put together who will need some responsible with knowledge. So the base of the private sector, the public sector are people knowledgeable. And people knowledgeable, they're gonna need to keep learning, because this technology that we are presenting is something that are changing all the time. In our company, we are changing every single day. It's incredible. What I learned yesterday, I have to pay attention because something new was added today or is being added tomorrow. So how the average people gonna reach this knowledge? We, as an experts in the market, we need to translate these complex things in different, deeper levels in something transparent, usable, in a way that they can have the benefits of the technology. But as you well said in another day when we were in another meeting, we need to always be careful with security, with privacy, with user experience that make the things easier and transparent to end user, and the compliance. I think when we put these four together and we can share with someone else that do not need to study 10 years, 5 years, whatever, to understand something that he honestly don't want to know anything about that complexity. They just want to reach his goal or her goal. Then we are doing our job right.
Okay. So in other words, when I'm hearing what we all need to know is, again, there's risk and opportunity. What I heard you say is the public sector, or excuse me, the private sector organizations need to be aware that the individual really doesn't care about the technology, wants it to be easy. They just want to use it. They want the utility, but at the same time, they want to be protected. And so we as public sector or private sector organizations need to really take the extra mile effort to create good UI, good CX, integrate security, and essentially do it right and with the knowledge and mindset to protect them. And I'm going to come back to that point in a minute. You didn't actually say this, but what I heard in my brain while you were talking was
you connected the dots.
The public sector needs to essentially put down rules that are understandable and make sense within the context of the technology, and to create rules that can change dynamically in an appropriate way with the time. So laying down a regulation and then not having it change for 20 years isn't going to work anymore.
Yeah, if you allowed me, I'm not sure about to create rules, because we have several rules and nobody cares about the rules. This is a big issue. But if the public sector support and motivate people who do the things right with I'm gonna be a little romantic here, with the good heart to make the good things for others, and because we are not alone here. We live in a community. We cannot live by ourselves, because if someone is not being able to use technology, it's not good for other companies, because for us, it's important that everyone have access to technology, but in a right way, with the right matters and devices and softwares and applications. And this is the point. If each one committed itself to do the things right in a right manner and in the proper way, this is gonna be the result, like a natural result, So the public sector, instead to put rules that people must follow, there are people following rules that doesn't even exist. For example, there are developers creating good things, excellent things. We have in our company amazing people who are having a blast creating things to help the world. Why not? Why we focus in crackers, and not even hackers, because hackers, it's a wrong way to say about people knowledgeable about technology, but the crackers, people who want to damage and destroy and steal, we don't want to know about that. We want to know people who are knowledgeable and who can help with passion to do the things better for everyone. This is the point. So in the government, they should focus and support people who want to do the things good.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And again, the point I was trying to make is, in the process, what I heard you say is, given that the technologies are changing so fast, that help needs to become in a form that is dynamic and contextually relevant now. Like, we don't want rules that or methods that get so old and antiquated that they're impossible and too costly to maintain or to adhere to.
Definitely. Until approve some rules, they are already not updated anymore. They are old already. Yeah. And the technology moved on. The thing are, when the politician understand what we are doing, it's best. This is right.
So another lesson we're learning too, and you're thinking that we need to really find a way to educate our legislators, our representative agencies, for them to understand this technology and to understand the context and what's happening with it and how it works.
Yeah, and we should keep the things simple. We know the tree by the fruit, so we know the developer or the company by the results they are offering for the society. This is the point most important, in my opinion.
Okay, so let me ask you another question then. So I think I've really enjoyed the conversation thus far, and that we've had this broad sense of what's going on in the market, and the knowledge of what we think the different agents need to do. So let me turn it to you guys and IPification. Tell me a little bit, like, how are you helping solve these problems? I mean, and when it comes to like, I'm guessing the word IP is tied to identification. I mean, maybe let's just start with how the name came about. What does it mean, and what problem are you trying to solve for the market?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. IPification, it's an evolution in technology, because we are living what I'm trying to share with you here, that it's to bring something new, easy to use for everyone. Definitely, our company, it's private company, and we are capitalists. We want to make some money from this, but why not do this helping and improving the things for everyone? In our case, IPification, it's a way to authenticate the user. For example, when a parent or a children, let's keep the idea in the children. When a children, 6-year-old, connecting an application in his or her iPad, it will be required an authentication. Usually the authentication, you supply a name or a email or a phone number, and you receive SMS or something like this. The approach of authentication, it's through the MNOs, the mobile network operators, or the mobile operators that already have the people data. They use our solution internally to make this transparent for the end user. How we do this? We identify the device. It's a possession factor. For example, a children has an iPad with a SIM card. So we identify the SIM card, the device, and a phone number that the operator give to them. But we are proposing more, because we would like that this SIM card, when it's issued for someone, for example, a children of 6-year-old, we connected the information that it's the gender and the age in this SIM card. So these children will not be allowed to access a 18+ website anymore. Why not? Because they cannot change the age. It's connected with the identification of the children. So we have ways to solve certain issues. It's not easy. I'm not telling you that everybody's super happy, want to do this today or tomorrow, but we have a proposal with the right technology that it's IPification. I call IPification the missing piece. The missing piece, because with IPification, we can make the things work well for most of people who want to do the things well done.
So in other words, what you're saying is you have technology, we'll not talk about the specifics, but that you can associate a device with a child and various characteristics or attributes of that child to which the parent can control. So when the parent turns around and hands their daughter or son a mobile phone or an iPad, they can specify that this is a device and it's for a boy or it's for a girl and they're young and this is their age. And then presumably that has then APIs that would allow other apps within the ecosystem to be able to tap into and say, oh, this is a device for a kid, so therefore I should do this, not serve them this kind of content. The browser shouldn't let them go serve these kinds of things. So how far away are we from an industry for that to be able to happen?
This is the most exciting point. We are already talking about with the 3 biggest digital players worldwide, and we are getting the support of all these people to make this happen. Because, as I told you, it's all about the individuals. Behind each one of these big companies, we need to find that individual like you, like me, like Mr. Harry Chang, that wants to do the thing right, Mm-hmm. that wants to make the things work fine to the good for most of people. So we are already 1 year already discussing about this topic with these people. I cannot specifically tell you who they are, but they are the people who run the show. And I really hope, and we are doing our best effort to give them the tools to help us to make it happen in a way that everyone gonna be receiving the benefits of the technology. And this is the beautiful thing, the beauty of IPification. We can help even a 6-year-old little girl who are accessing an application, and she will be protected because her data shared with the MNO who issued the SIM card will not go out of the MNO. It will be just checked out if it's correct. If it's correct, she will be authenticated. And from now on, she will receive what it's good for her. This is not the whole IPification solution. This is only one possibility that we can do with IPification. Plus than that, we are working with fintechs, with banks, with all the other companies who need authentication, simple and straightforward.
Yeah, and again, we want to be staying neutral in our conversation for the market. And so it sounds like what you're doing is great. But what I hear you saying at the end of the day is we have to realize there are human beings at the other end of these devices. And those human beings, depending on their circumstances, could have needs. And through technical solutions, we can help by, for example, signaling, because right now when a device connects to the network, all you really know is it's a device, and maybe somebody has a username and password and some biometrics to authenticate, but we really don't know who they are. And we don't really know what they are, child, male, female, they, whatever, however they want to represent themselves to the marketplace. And that context is critically important. And essentially as I'm thinking ahead in the technology stack that you're talking about, the first context that you're saying that we can solve for is, age in the primary context we're having here. But as I extend that through, as this marketplace grows and this sense-making capability that we can derive from this kind of control that you can be giving to an individual, we could be signaling all kinds of intent, all kinds of attributes, data that are, but in a way that's under the agency of the individual and under their control.
Exactly. This is the point. We are not create anything new. This is like I was thinking something that I think you're gonna like to hear. But when we in the past we hear about gossips, right? Gossips.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And the people who usually to do gossips was a bad people, right? Because gossips are not a good thing, right? Do you agree with this?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay, now what happened? We evolved so much that enterprises are making gossips. What I mean, they take your personal information and share with third party. This is a gossips between codes, So
interesting.
What we are proposing, it's just to see how is a good life and transfer this to a digital life. We don't want a 6-year-old going to places that we will never let them go in a real life. In digital life is the same, but we need to create the tools to help them, not to control them, because the responsible to control belongs to the parents, and our company do not want to control. We are 100% in favor to not take any data at all. The data belongs to the person, as you mentioned another day, the self-sovereignty. This is super important. But in certain way, we're gonna need rules to live in society. But the best rules we could see so far, it's to centralize this information in the MNOs in a way that when they issue a SIM card, they have the data, period. That's it. From now on,
they're the trusted intermediary. Another term we're hearing is this concept of intermediary, where they're a critical part of the marketplace that can represent that identity for us.
In our opinion, we help the MNOs to come back to the center of the importance that they have doing this right with IPification technology.
Right, and so actually then that allows us to really take advantage of the higher power that is the network, in that not only is the network providing me a secure high bandwidth channel, but now the network can provide me that secure high bandwidth channel, but with secure identity authorization and verification. And in the context of the parent, under the control of the guardian or parent, or in the context of an adult, under the control of the adult, in partnership with the carrier.
This will be the rule. If you ask me, the rule is we will not offer a 6-year-old child content for an adult, and everyone else must to adapt to themselves in a way that this is a rule, because we don't want that,
Okay, now I get it now. So going back to going back to the conversation that we were just having about the public sector.
Yes.
What the public sector can learn, what they may not be aware of, and therefore what they need to know, is that there's technology like this that actually does exist, and that this technology can scale, and that the carriers and the players and the infrastructure worldwide can in fact do it. It's just a matter of will and imagination, and a matter of you as a public sector requirement saying, like we've been telling you for decades, that it's industry's responsibility to protect the vulnerable.
Sure.
And what I'm hearing you say is the public sector needs to be aware of that this type of capability exists, and
it's available
to highly recommend it in the sense that these types of things should be put in place.
And one more thing, Michael, our company, we are not here to compete with any other company. This is, I know it's a little weird to the ears, but we are here to support most of the technologies that exist right now. So we are not here to make harder the other people's lives and to offer a technology which gonna kill another technology. But definitely IPification, it's the future. But we already have this technology now available. It's just a matter of will of the MNOs and enterprise who wants to have well set of rules and let the user enjoy the technology with security, privacy, and in compliance with everything else, to not exchange personal information and all this mess that we are seeing right now.
Yeah, and again, I loved how you're positioning this, because it is in fact a big world, and there are a number of collaborative, interoperable capabilities and systems, and we have to be aware that if you're starting from scratch in greenfield, you can build a whole lot of things, but a lot of organizations have legacy infrastructure, and it's going to
definitely we understand
take them time to evolve to this, and we understand that. But
they are trying. I can tell you, I have several meetings during the week. They are trying to start their own project every single day.
Yeah,
and take years. It's terrible. It's a waste of time.
But what I hear you saying, though, and I think the critical insight is that we can add signals to these devices.
Yes.
That can help with identification and authorization, and add yet one more trusted signal to facilitate powering and enabling safe powered and enhanced digital services.
This is so important, Michael, because I don't know if you had the curiosity to study this further, but I have been checking out how the teenagers and young people are using technology, and it's really, really not very promising. They are having access to information that they suppose not have until later on, but nobody is doing anything about it. So we would like that people start to being aware that we have the technology with the goodwill of MNOs and people involved, the app developers, that we can really, as you said, give a signal that device suppose not receive this kind of content, and that device suppose receive this kind of content.
Yes.
Simple like that.
Yeah, and again, guardianship, parental control, the parent could choose to turn that on or off. but it takes a village in today's digital world. And so to the extent that the technology and the networks itself can, in that sense, help be that, supportive guiding hand. And if the parent or guardian chooses to, accept that support, is there.
Believe me, it's a peace of mind for the parents.
Yeah.
Will be a peace of mind, because today, one click wrong and you are completely lost.
Well, and I think another important thing we need to realize too, especially in the digital world, where our digital footprint, as noted before, it's getting generated in real time constantly. What I do today and the mistakes I make today aren't going to go away, right? And those can resurface themselves days, weeks, decades later.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate from a social perspective. Sometimes the context of that mistake is lost and viewed through the lens of the future context.
Exactly. And that can be very damaging for a person. It's not fair, because imagine how many young people make mistakes during the early age, and they understand, they learn, they change. But if we keep doing the way we are doing now, they're going to be paying for something forever. It's wrong. No, it's not correct.
And what I'm hearing you say is we can fix that.
Definitely. We have the knowledge, we have the good people, we have the technology. It's just to put the piece together. So the missing piece we are offering now, and not to say that we are better than nobody else. It's not the point. We are here to serve, to help. And if any people would like to know more, it will be always a pleasure to share.
Well, fantastic. And on that note, maybe what we can do is, as a follow-up, if you have any, videos, reports, resources, maybe some use case examples or how-tos, we can attach that to this this interview, so that people can go study and learn more later, when they have time.
I'm sure Sasha will be super happy. Sasha is our director of marketing. She's based on Hong Kong. She will be super happy to help us. She's amazing.
Well, fantastic. And on that note, let's wrap it up. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope we get to do this again.
My pleasure, Michael. It's always a pleasure to serve you and to be available for you anytime.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye.